Right now, as we speak, the fundamental rules that have run the internet for decades are being completely rewritten right before our eyes. We're in the middle of a massive battle, a battle over clicks, over content, and ultimately over control. And the outcome is going to define the future of how all of us find and use information online. But let's rewind a bit. Not that long ago, the internet felt like it ran on a simple promise. This quote right here, from back in 2011, really captures that whole vibe. There was this unspoken deal, a kind of symbiotic pact between the people creating content and the search engines that helped us find it. And you know what? Following those simple rules, it worked big time. In just a single year, by getting those basics right, the BBC Good Food website, which was already huge, grew its traffic by an absolutely staggering 60%. This was the dream of the open web, playing out in real time. So yeah, this whole era was built on what we can basically call the old SEO promise. It was a golden age for anyone making stuff online, all governed by a really clear, straightforward value exchange with search engines like Google. The deal back then was beautifully simple. It was like a 4-step dance. Step 1, you create awesome, helpful content that people actually want. Step 2, you do some basic SEO stuff so Google could figure out what it was about. Step 3, Google, as it's part of the bargain, sends people, traffic, your way. And step 4, you get to make money from that traffic, whether it's through ads or subscriptions or whatever. This simple pact is what fueled the web's explosion for years. But then things started to shift. Google began to evolve. It stopped being just a simple machine that matched words in your search bar to words on a page. No, it was developing a brain. It started trying to understand the world a lot more like we do. And the key to this whole evolution was this idea of an entity. An entity is, well, it's a thing, not just a string of letters. It could be a person, a company, a city, heck, even an idea like democracy. The huge takeaway here is that Google was moving from a world of keywords to a world of real-life concepts and all the ways they connect. Okay, so what does that actually look like in practice? Well, in the old days, if you searched for Apple, it was a toss-up. Fruit? Computer company? Who knows? But with entity search, Google understood the context. It knew Apple, the company, was a thing, an entity that was connected to other entities like iPhone and Steve Jobs. This was a quantum leap in search intelligence. And Google had a massive, almost sci-fi ambition for this new brain power. Its goal was to build what it called a knowledge graph, basically a gigantic, interconnected map of all the world's information, charting out the relationships between every person, place, and thing it could find. Well, this created a whole new challenge for publishers. All of a sudden, just having the right keywords wasn't enough. You had to be crystal clear about who and what you were so Google's algorithm could understand you. And this wasn't easy. I mean, even a global behemoth like the BBC had problems. Was it BBC News, BBC Sport, iPlayer? All these different parts made it really hard for Google to see the BBC as one single unified entity. But hey, smart publishers, they don't just sit back and watch their traffic disappear. They adapted. They came up with a whole new playbook, one designed specifically to speak Google's new language of entities and, crucially, of trust. And this new strategy really boiled down to 2 key moves. First, you had to prove that you were a trustworthy, authoritative source of information. And second, you needed to add really clear, machine-readable labels to your content, so Google didn't have to guess what it was looking at. Okay, so that first part is a big concept Google now calls EEAT. It stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. This basically became the new rulebook for proving your credibility. Are your writers actual experts? Do you have a long history of being reliable? Are you a trusted name in your niche? Answering yes to those questions became absolutely critical. The second part was a bit more technical. Publishers started using something called structured data. The best way to think about it is like putting a super detailed, computer-friendly price tag on your content. So instead of Google guessing that a page is a news story, the structured data says loud and clear, hey, this is a news article, this is the headline, this is the author, this is the date it was published. It just removes all the guesswork. And for a good while, this new, more complicated system actually worked. Publishers figured it out, and the clicks kept coming. But then, the earthquake hit. A disruptive force so powerful it's threatening to just completely shatter that original pact we talked about. And its name is generative AI. And this is the new reality we're all living in. Instead of just a list of blue links, Google's AI can now hoover up information from a bunch of different websites, summarize it, and just give you the answer right there on the search page. The user gets what they need, but the people who actually created that information, they get nothing. The cycle is broken. The click never, ever happens. And the data, wow, the data is just brutal. Early studies show that when these AI overviews appear, websites are actually seen more often. Their impressions shoot up by almost 50%. But the actual clicks, the people visiting their site, that number plummets by 30%. People see the summary, and that's good enough for them. They just don't visit the source. You can see how this becomes an existential threat, right? As SEO expert Lily Ray puts it, if this AI-first way of searching becomes the default, the entire financial model that has supported millions of websites, from tiny blogs to huge news organizations, could be completely wiped out. And here is the absolute kicker. Google has basically given publishers an impossible choice. The only way to stop your content from being used in these AI summaries is to opt out of Google search completely. It's a take-it-or-leave-it deal that says, let us use all your hard work for free, or you can become invisible on the internet. Now, this has not gone unanswered. What we're seeing right now is the beginning of a massive, global fight back. Publishers are not just rolling over. They are gearing up for a fight for their very survival, a battle for the future of the click itself. And this fight is increasingly being waged in the courtroom. It's all happening incredibly fast. In late 2024, Asia News International went after OpenAI in India. Then came the landmark lawsuit from the New York Times. And by August of 2025, huge Japanese publishers were filing their own lawsuits against another AI search engine. The dominoes are falling. And let me be clear, this is not just a few isolated complaints. We're talking about the biggest names in media on the planet. The New York Times, the BBC, standing alongside thousands of other newspapers and websites. This is a unified worldwide movement, pushing back against what they see as the outright theft of their work. Which leaves us with the one central, massive question at the heart of this whole crisis. These AI models, they need a constant river of fresh, high-quality human-made information to learn from and to create their summaries. But if the business model that pays for all that content creation gets destroyed, where is that information going to come from? What happens to the web when the creators can no longer afford to create? That's the question we all need to be asking.